to show you how I like to format a CV. There are, of course, other ways, and many people prefer to do it by the tools embedded within Word or Google Doc, word processing platforms. But I prefer to use a table method to produce what you see here. There's just, in my experience, less chance that when you are exporting or emailing or producing this for a different platform that there will be errors. The formatting kind of gets locked in. So I'll show you how I produce this using a Google Doc. So to begin, the structure of it really is just a 3-column table. So we will insert a table, and Word has this same functionality. And we'll do 3 columns. And for the sake of this, we'll just do 8 rows. And you can see here that you see all the lines in the table. And we're going to need some headings in there. So to create those headings, we will go across, highlight all 3 in a row, and control or right click them and say merge cells. And that creates this single cell out of the top there. So the first one is usually education. And then underneath that, basically the first column will be date. The second column will be the actual thing you're listing. And the third column will be the location. So in this instance, I'll just list my Schreiner degree. So I'll say 2010, graduated in 2010, and we'll say Schreiner University. So in your description column here, and by the way, you can change the size of the columns by dragging the actual line when you see it turn into that icon there. And when you're listing something in the description column, you list the venue first, and then underneath that, what it is that you earned or did at that venue. So for this, I did a BA in Creative Arts. And to differentiate that, it's not a bad idea to actually put that in italic. And then the location was Kerrville, Texas. And it's probably also a good idea to distinguish this from the rest of the text by making it a heading. So we'll make that bold and maybe a little bit bigger. There we go. And you're going to need a heading for the entire document. You want your contact info to be on every single thing in every place that you can. So if we put it up here in the header, it will repeat. And you do that by double clicking in the top there. And usually I like to center it. So first, of course, is your name. Underneath that, I have kind of a format that I use for that. So we can just grab this, highlight it, and paste it in over there. We'll do the same thing with this heading as we did with all the others. So you want to make those identical. And here, when you transition to the next section, you usually want to leave one row. So we're going to leave that one blank. And then we're going to do the same thing and merge this and create a heading here. And we will call this one work experience. And while education typically comes first, it depends on the venue to which you are applying, which headings you arrange toward the top. The credentials are all the same in each section, but which section you choose to put up at the top for the reviewer to see first depends on where you are applying. If you are applying to a gallery or an art venue for an exhibit, you want to list your exhibitions first. If you're applying to a job, you probably want to list work experience first. So think you probably get the picture there. So one of the things that I find helpful is to actually create headings out of these. So right now this is listed as normal text, but if I say update to heading 2, that's what my heading 2 will look like. And I can highlight this and do Option Command 2 for heading 2, and that will turn that into heading 2. Similarly, you can highlight this and come to the drop-down menu and say heading 2 and apply heading 2. So again, here we list the dates that you worked at the venue. So for this, we'll just make a hypothetical. We'll say 2017 through present, if you are still working at this venue. You worked at the, let's see, Shriner is a graphic design program, so you can say the Unicorn Graphic Design Foundation. So that's where you worked. And underneath there, you want to list what you did. And this is a CV. This is a list of things, not an in-depth description. A resume is an in-depth description, and sometimes employers will ask for that. In this case, we're just producing a CV. So in this case, you did, you actually had a title, let's say. So you were the lead artistic director. And that was located in San Antonio, Texas. And before that, we'll list another one here, you worked from 2015 to 2017. And if you have specific dates, like May the 1st, you would also list that. In this case, we'll just do years. But from 2015 to 2017, you worked for the Mega Startup Graphic Design Foundation. And there, you were, let's say, contract labor, and you did multiple projects. And so you might say, you might list some of those actual projects. So you could say the branding, you could say Apple branding campaign. And then you've got another one. You could say the Google Sites design. And since those are all examples, I would make them italic and say underneath that projects. And if you have any specific people to list with those projects, you could do that here as well. And I might differentiate that with a parentheses maybe and say John Doe and list their title, project coordinator. And the point there is to give the reviewer a place where they can actually go back and revisit your work or talk to old employers if they can. So this one was in Austin, Texas. So that's that. So with regard to the next phase, we want to add more rows. So we'll right-click that and insert row below. With regard to the next section, we'll list your projects or your gallery experience. So we'll merge those, create a heading, and say exhibitions. And it would be similar for personal projects in any other art discipline like graphic design. I would list out those projects here. So here we will say 22. You have the title of the exhibition, and you list, in terms of the importance of listing exhibitions, you always list solo exhibitions up front and then group exhibitions below that. And that's kind of how it works in order of importance. So we'll say you had a group or a solo exhibition titled My Fantastic Work. And if there was a curator involved, you would list that person. And again, make that italic. And list the place. We'll say Dallas, Texas. And then here, you might also list that it was a solo show. So I would do that underneath the title of the show. And here, you can list a group show if that's what is next for you. If that's your only solo show, you can say the wonderful world of art, and that was a group show, and the juror was Sarah Jane. I'm just making that name up. Again, put the details in italic, and we'll say that was in 21, and that was in El Paso, Texas. So get the idea there. Oh, let's make that heading right. Option Command 2. So you get the idea there. Underneath that, let's look at our completed one. I've got teaching experience, information skills. So for graphic design, absolutely you want to list any kind of specialty or anything that you think will help in that industry. Collections, if any venues have collected your work, any publications you might have, and in each section, the most recent comes first, and it goes chronologically listed down. So anything else? Volunteer work, I list that as service, and if you're a member of any kind of industry foundations or groups, you want to list that. It just kind of shows you're in touch with things. And but once we're ready to go, we'll call this close to done. Once you're ready to go, you will right-click or control-click on the table, say Table Properties, and go down to Color and make the points 0, and that removes all of the lines there. And so now you have a well-formatted CV with no lines from the table. Each one of those items gets listed in its own cell, so the formatting is kind of rigid and it stays where it is. If you can, when you're sending it to people, try to send it as a PDF if that's allowed. If not, that's fine. Send it as a Word or whatever Word file or whatever file your reviewer wants. But typically a PDF file bakes all of this formatting in there, and you don't have to worry about it when you're emailing or putting it on different platforms. All right, I hope this helps, and look forward to reading your CVs.